Good morning, students. Today we will be starting our next topic of chapter number 2, which is biological classification. And today we will be reading about the kingdom Monera. So, as we all know that kingdom Monera is the oldest life form and it comprises of only prokaryotic cells. That means they have no defined cell organelles or nucleus. Also, the nucleus is not enclosed in the nuclear membrane. They are unicellular, that means they are made up of only one cell, and they are autotrophic as well as heterotrophic. So when I say autotrophs, that means that they can prepare their own food, and heterotrophs are those who cannot make their own food. So let's start the first topic, or the first organism in the kingdom Monera. As we know that the kingdom Monera comprises of only bacteria, so in this kingdom we will be studying about only bacteria, but there are many types of bacteria which we have discussed in our last lecture video too. Like bacteria have different types of shapes. They are coccus, they are bacillus, vibrio and spirillum. Okay, so the names of some bacteria are, as also given in your book, the number 1 is Archaebacteria. Okay, it's Archaebacteria. So today we will be studying about Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Okay, so this Archaebacteria, as the name suggests, archae means primitive, or we can also call it by the other name as an extremophilic. So when I say extremophilic, philic means loving, okay, and extreme means it's the extreme condition. So this bacteria, this Archaebacteria, is a type of bacteria which can survive in the extreme conditions which are not favorable to many living organisms, and it is also called as the primitive or the ancient bacteria. Okay, so it's ancient bacteria, or it's a the oldest life form. So when the life existed on earth, so these were the bacteria which were formed. Okay, so how are they different from the other bacteria? How can they survive in extreme conditions? So because they have a rigid cell wall. Since they have a very rigid cell wall, so that means that all the cells have cell wall, but this bacteria, this Archaebacteria, have a very rigid cell wall, and not all the bacteria have a rigid cell wall. So because they have a rigid cell wall, that's why they are able to cope up in the very extreme or unfavorable environment also. So where are they found? So they are found in many places. Like they are found in a very harsh habitats such as extremely salt areas, in hot springs also, in the marshy areas, even in the area where there's a lot of acids and all. So they can survive in almost every conditions in so let's study the habitat of the Archaebacteria. Habitat. Okay, so they have extreme habitat. That means they can survive in extreme conditions also. So extreme habitat of the Archaebacteria. Okay, so like they can survive in the high salt concentration and high temperature, and they don't die. Why they don't die? Because they have the very rigid cell wall. Also they have some acid or some chemicals in them, they have some muramic acid in them, and which helps in giving them a very hard cell wall. Also it balances out its structure. So we will study the types also. So habitat is, they have extreme habitat. They are found in high salt concentration. Also they are found in high temperature. They are also found in the oxygen free marshy area. That means every living organisms need oxygen to respirate, but these are found also in those areas where is no oxygen, so they can also survive there also. That means there are some anaerobic bacteria too. And so now what are the types of these bacteria? So depending upon the habitat, we have classified into some types, these bacteria into some types. So number one is the halophilic bacteria. Okay, so we can also say the halophilic archaebacteria. So number one is halophilic or halophile. Halophile, Phile, halophiles. Okay, so these halophiles are those bacteria which can live in the high salt concentration. Okay, high salt concentration. So where the water is very saline, very salty water is there, so they can also survive in that condition. So if you remember, when in class 9 we have studied about the keeping a cell in an isotonic, hypotonic and hypertonic medium. So what happens generally when we keep a cell in any concentration where the salt where the water is more in the cell but it's less in the outside medium, so what happens, the water comes out of the cell. So if there is excess of salt, the high concentration of the salt is outside, so because of the osmosis, what happen, the water moves outside the cell, because the water will move from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. So if this acid is living in a very high salt concentration, so what would happen, that all the water from the cell, living organism, like if it's a cell and it is having, okay, not well defined nucleus, so nucleus is just they have nucleus but they are not defined nucleus, so all the chromosomes and all the genetic material just lie around the cell, whole cell. So if the concentration is high of the salt outside and lesser the water is more, so water will come out from the cell, but due to they have a very high very rigid cell wall, they don't perform that osmosis quickly and they are able to maintain their concentration of water inside the cell, and that's how they survive in a very high salt concentration. So the example is the halobacteria. The halobacteria is an example of the halophile. Okay, so now they are also found in the hot springs and acidic conditions. So the next is thermophiles or thermoacidophiles. So thermoacidophiles. Okay, so thermo means heat. Okay, thermo means heat and acid means acid. We all know about acids. So these are the bacteria which can also survive in a very high temperature or a acidic condition. High temperature and acidic condition. Okay, so acidic condition means the higher the pH, the lower the acid. So the lower the pH, the higher the acid. So if the pH is low, then also they are able to survive. Okay, so just write pH like this. Okay, so even if the pH is low, because when we talk about the pH scale, if the pH is 1, it's more acidic. So because hydrochloric acid has pH 1, so the lesser the pH value, the more the acidic it is. So these high thermoacidophiles can survive in a very high temperature also. They are found in hot springs. So the springs in there where is a very hot water, they can also survive in there also. So next is methanogens. Okay, it's methanogens. Okay, so methanogens are the areas where there's no oxygen and they are found in the swampy or in the marshy areas, oxygen free marshy areas. Marshy area. Okay, so example of methanogens are methanococcus. So what happens actually, that when they live in the marshy areas, they produces because they will not perform the aerobic respiration, and in the case of anaerobic respiration they will perform gases, they will perform methane gas. Okay, So methane is CH4. So they will, instead of producing CO2, because CO2 is only produced when there is oxygen, when oxygen is used along with the glucose. So the next compound form is the CO2, energy and water. But in this case, since there is no oxygen, so methane gas is produced. That's why they are called as methanogens. And they are also present in the gut of many ruminant animals like cows and buffaloes who ruminate. And then because they ruminate, so their excrete, their dung is also used to produce the biogas. It's a very common thing which all of you have read about, the biogas. That means when there is an anaerobic respiration without the presence of oxygen, so and the decomposition happens, so that times there is a production of methane gas. Okay, and methane is the highly inflammable gas which you have also read in CNG. So CNG means compressed natural gas, which is the methane gas. So this is produced by this bacteria called as methanogens, and it is used, it is also called as the biogas. So next is, what is their nutrition? How do they have their nutrition, or how do they make their nutrition? So for the food, they are like two types. I've told you already that they are autotrophs also and they are heterotrophs also. So generally what happens, the majority of these bacteria, these archaebacteria, are autotrophs, but they are not photosynthetic because they don't have chlorophylls, because they live in the extreme conditions. So they are chemoautotrophs. Okay, so they are chemoautotrophs because they make their food from the chemicals. So maximum of them are the chemoautotrophs. That means they make their own food, making their food from the chemicals present in their living habitat. Okay, so and also some of them are heterotrophs and some of them are heterotrophs. That means they will obtain their food from some outside source. Okay, so this was about archaebacteria. I hope you understood this. So next we will be doing is eubacteria. The next bacteria is eubacteria. So in this kingdom Monera, we are just studying about two, which is archaebacteria and the other one is eubacteria. So generally bacteria are of two types, which is archaebacteria, which is primitive bacteria, and the other one is eubacteria. Now eubacteria is also called as the true bacteria. True bacteria means because most of the bacteria are of this type. So the bacteria around us, which we see, the bacteria, some bacteria live in the inside of our body. Also bacteria are found in your curd also, which is lactobacillus, which is also used in medicine. So all those bacteria which are commonly found are called as true bacteria or eubacteria, because they have all the features which a normal bacteria have. That they also have little rigid cell wall, and because they also have a flagellum. Flagellum is a tail-like structure or a whip-like structure which is helpful for the movement of these bacteria. So if the bacteria are motile, are movable, they can move from one place to the another, or a little float on something, so they have flagellum, or otherwise they don't have flagellum. So number one is they have rigid cell wall, and then some of them have flagellum. Flagellum helps in the motile or in the movement. Okay, in the motility. Okay, so now they are found almost everywhere. They are also found in the human body. They live in the human body, so they mostly occupy the moist habitat. They live in the moisture chlorophyll area, and they are photosynthetic in nature. Some of them are photosynthetic, and some of them are chemosynthetic. So, and some of them are heterotrophs. Now, those who will prepare their food with the help of light, so they will be called as photosynthetic, and those who will make their food with the help of chemicals, they are called as chemosynthetic, and those who will make their food, those who will not be able to make their food and depend on the others, are called as the heterotrophs. Okay, so let's study about the nutrition in the bacteria. So like if I'll let habitat also. Habitat. So they are found almost everywhere. Almost everywhere or anywhere, including anywhere, also in human gut. So yes, so it comes to the nutrition. Okay, so like let's study about the photosynthetic autotrophs first. So it's photosynthetic autotrophs. Okay, so as the name suggests, they are photosynthetic. That means they can make their own food with the help of photosynthesis. So they will perform the photosynthesis. Since they will perform the photosynthesis, but they are not grouped in the other kingdoms, like in kingdom Plantae or kingdom or the algae, because as the distinguishing feature of these kingdoms by Whitaker was the cell type, that what kind of cell they have. So all the organisms having the primitive cell, that is prokaryotic cell, were grouped in this section, in this kingdom called kingdom Monera, and these bacteria are cyanobacteria. Okay, cyanobacteria. Okay, so they are also called as the blue-green algae. They are referred as blue-green algae. Okay. Okay, so these can prepare their own food in the presence of sunlight, and some of them also have chlorophyll. So as they have chlorophyll, so they are similar to the green plants, and they are photosynthetic autotrophs. Okay, so now they are unicellular. They live in the colony just like the algae does, and they are filamentous. So they look like some filament, or they are found in the fresh water, in the marine, or in the terrestrial algae. Okay, so where we see there is a layer, a clumpy layer of the organism. So because they are gelatinous and mucilaginous, so they form like clump like structure, and they are, because cyano is the blue color, and since they are algae, they have that chloroplast, so they are green color also. That's why they are called as the blue green algae. Now they perform photosynthesis and are responsible for enriching the oxygen to the environment. So where they are found, that area, so what they do, they will make the food out of the CO2 gas, and then they will produce the oxygen also. So they are also very useful to us, that they are responsible for the enriching the atmosphere with the oxygen, and they are the primitive, because these kingdom Monera are the primitive bacteria. So they are like our ancestors of all the life form of the earth. So the life existed from a single cell bacteria itself. So they were the archaebacteria, which has two types, sorry, not archae, yes, it can be archaebacteria also. So kingdom Monera is a primitive living organisms kingdom. So let's make some points out of this. So like they prepare their own food with the help of sunlight, with chlorophyll. Okay, so they are unicellular, as we all know that all the kingdom Monera is unicellular, and they live in colonies. Then they are filamentous. Colonies are filamentous because they have you will be seeing a diagram in your book of nostoc, which is called as a blue-green algae. So they are joined together because they are round shape, so they look like a filament or a pearl like of thing. Okay, so they also have some mucilaginous sheath, and they are gelatinous, which is gelatinous sheets. So they are like gelatinous kind of substance, so they are quite sticky and all sticky. So they cover the area of the water in which they are found. And since they perform photosynthesis, so they contribute the oxygen. They contribute oxygen to the environment. That means they contribute, they are responsible for enriching the atmosphere with oxygen. So okay, so they are also the primitive life form. Okay, since the appearance of their color is green and blue, so they are called as a blue-green algae. So they are you would have seen the dirty water bodies or the polluted water bodies, you would have seen some blooms. So some of them are also heterocyst. So now heterocyst is the word. So some of them are the heterocysts. That means they can also fix the atmospheric nitrogen, and then when they will fix the atmospheric nitrogen, that means they will also help to clean the dirty water bodies which have lots of nitrogenous waste in them. So they also fix those nitrogenous waste. So they have a specialized cells which is called as a heterocyst. Like this example, you can also see in your book, page number 19, figure number 2.2. I'll take the picture of the book right here. So this here you can see these are the heterocysts. So these heterocysts are the specialized cell which are able to fix the nitrogen of the atmosphere. So basically they can decompose the nitrogenous waste and they can fix the nitrogen back to the atmosphere. So the example of those are nostoc and Anabaena, which have heterocysts. So there is a section in this, so that is called as a heterocyst, which helps in the fixation of the nitrogen. Okay, so they also have heterocyst. Example, nostoc and Anabaena. Okay, so next comes the chemosynthetic bacteria, which make their food with the help of the chemicals. So these because we are studying about the autotrophic bacteria, so which can make their food. So these were the bacteria which were able to make their food with the help of a photosynthesis. But there are some bacteria which do not go under photosynthesis, but they can also make their food. That means they are autotrophs. Okay, so next is the chemosynthetic autotrophs. Autotrophs. So these chemosynthetic autotrophs make their food with the help of the chemicals and prepare their food with the help of chemicals or they also help in oxidizing the nitrates nitrates that basically they are those bacterias which are helpful in the decomposition. Okay, so nitrates and ammonia, so that means they can fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So because these organisms, these chemosynthetic autotrophs, they oxidize the various inorganic substances like nitrates, nitrites, ammonia, and they release energy in the form of and they release energy to produce the energy called as ATP. So that's why they play a great role in recycling the nitrogen, phosphorus, and iron. Okay, so they help in recycling nutrients like sulfur, nitrogen, phosphorus, and iron. Okay, so they can make their food with the help of chemicals which is in their surroundings. So they perform chemosynthesis. Okay, so next comes the heterotrophs, are the bacteria who cannot make their food and they depend on the other organisms for their food. So it's heterotrophs. Okay, heterotrophs also some of them are called as saprophytes, which depend upon the dead and decomposed organisms. So they are the decomposers. So they are the most abundant like we can see them in a large number, and some of them are even parasites. That means they live inside the organisms and they derive their nutrients from the living organisms. So heterotrophs are the autotrophs which cannot make their own food, cannot make their own food and depend on other sources for food, like outside sources. Now they are also of two types. One is saprophytes. Saprophytes are those which live on the dead organisms, which are called as decomposers who decompose the organic matter which is dead. Decomposers, like they feed on dead and decomposed matter, organic matter. And other are parasites. Parasites don't depend on the dead organisms, but they live inside the living cells. Parasites live inside other living organisms. And they derive their nutrients from them. So the saprophytes, like the decomposers, are many bacteria which we have also seen. It's Bacillus, it's Streptomyces, and Pseudomonas. They are also found in the curd, or they are also responsible for the curdling of milk, which is Lactobacillus. And some of them are the like they are used in the antibiotics. So example of the saprophytes, of decomposers, are Bacillus, they are rod-shaped bacteria, Streptomyces, Pseudomonas, etc. So they are responsible in the formation of curd from milk. Okay, then they are example lactobacillus. Then they are used to make antibiotics. Then they are also used in fixing the nitrogen. So what happens in there, the bacteria lives in the root nodules and they fix the nitrogenous waste to the nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen. So example, the rhizobium bacteria, most commonly found bacteria, rhizobium. Okay, so all these are the friendly bacteria. So they are helpful for us in some or the other ways, but that does not mean that all the bacteria are good for us. There are some bacteria which are very harmful for us, which make us ill, which destroy our crops, and which also affect the animals and us human beings. So they are called as pathogens. The bacteria which are not good to us and they are the cause of many diseases, they are called as pathogens. You would have studied about pathogens. You have already studied about pathogens, the organisms which are responsible for certain diseases. So pathogens are the disease causing bacteria, So like there are some typhoid, the bacteria which causes typhoid, and the bacteria causes cholera, tetanus, tuberculosis, and syphilis. So like the commonly bacteria which causes typhoid is Salmonella typhi. Okay, so typhoid is caused by the Salmonella typhi. So as it's not given in your NCERT book, so no need to go in the detail. Just have to learn what are the diseases caused by the bacteria Salmonella typhi. I am not writing in the italicized manner. Okay, you cannot write like this. So now there are many bacteria which causes cholera, tetanus, tuberculosis, and syphilis. Along with that, there is one more bacteria which is called as E. coli. It called as Escherichia coli. So this is a bacteria which is again a rod-shaped bacteria, and this is found in the human feces also. Like if we do not drink clean water, it is like we will be affected by this E. coli, and it is found in most of the strains, and sometimes it's harmless, but sometimes it can cause the serious illness and the poisoning in human beings. So this is also a pathogenic bacteria. Then the other then the other is Mycoplasma. Mycoplasma is also a parasitic bacteria, because like we have said just that heterotrophs are the bacteria which cannot make their own food. So one is the saprophytes. So these are the saprophytes which we are learning. And now the parasitic bacteria which live inside the host body is the Mycoplasma. Okay, so Mycoplasma is the parasitic bacteria. Mycoplasma. It's a parasitic bacteria. Okay. Okay. And it does not have cell wall. No cell wall. So it completely lacks the cell wall. And they are the smallest living cells. Smallest living cells. Okay, so they are the parasitic bacteria. They don't have cell wall. They are the smallest living cells, or the smallest living organisms. So many mycoplasma are pathogenic, so they make animals and plants ill. So they are found in the human respiratory. So habitat is the where they are found in the human respiratory system. human respiratory system, or also in the in the urogenital tract also, like urine infection is caused by this kind of mycoplasma, and also in the blood smears, respiratory organs, blood smears. So these are those bacteria which live inside the host cell, and they cause the diseases called as mycoplasma pneumonia. So they are not good for us. Now last we'll do about how do the bacteria reproduces. Okay, so reproduction is generally asexual, but also some of the bacteria reproduces by the sexual reproduction. So as they are single cellular, so they don't have any organs or organelles, different organs to perform the sexual reproduction. So what happens is the like so bacteria generally reproduces mainly reproduces by asexual mode. Asexual mode of reproduction, which comprises of fission or spore formation. Okay, so in the case of fission, what happens? The bacteria divided into two bacterium, which we have also studied in our previous classes, that the nucleus will be divided and there will be two daughter cells. So here is one nucleus and here is the other nucleus. So this has the cell wall, and inside it's a cell membrane, and it's the genetic material, which is DNA. Okay, so when there is the favorable condition, then they will reproduce by fission, and when there is unfavorable condition, so they will reproduce by the spores. Unfavorable condition, they will develop their spores. So some of the bacteria also reproduce by the sexual mode of reproduction. So how it is done? It is done by just the DNA transfer. So they because they are the primitive bacteria, so what they do, they adopt the this primitive DNA transfer from one bacteria to the other. So it is only done by the DNA transfer. So one bacteria will transfer their DNA to the other bacteria. So this is how we call it as sexual reproduction. So that is with this your kingdom monera is complete. So in the next lecture video we will be studying about kingdom protesta. Okay, till then take care and study hard. Thank you.